Want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. I am joined by a very special guest. He's a reporter for ClutchPoints.com, Eric Vincent. Eric, what's going on, man?
Life is good, man. Enjoying the off season. Happy to be here. Happy to, ramp up and get ready for what should be an action-packed off season. So, no better way to get it started than right here, man. How's everything with you?
Good, good. Enjoying the summer, enjoying the off season. At NBA Finals in a little bit, so I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be tapped in with the NBA Finals, seeing what happens there. Maybe they'll come on here because they're absolute sickos.
Of course.
I think last week we had like 2,000 people in here. It's just like, man, like you guys are tapped in, you're dialed in. I love it.
They follow it all over. Yeah, Nick's Twitter they've been on my head. I told you earlier. Because I've been watching, but I haven't really been tweeting about it much. You don't have nothing to say now, do you? So, it's cool. That's cool. I'll keep that same energy. I'm fine.
Between that and Iceman, I'm sure the timeline.
Oh, see, we were gonna be just fine, and you had to go to Drake. Look at you, bro. What is your problem? Iceman. I see that in the comment one time. I'm getting out of here.
To be honest, like I probably have not listened to a Drake album probably since Take Care. Like outside of that, I can't tap it anymore. I'm like, I'm good, man. Like it's just mumble rap. I can't do it.
That means you care about your mental health. If you don't want to hear a dude cry about nobody likes me anymore, Rihanna, call me back. Shut up. Grow up, bro. Godly. 40 years old talking about the same stuff.
It's not gonna turn into a Drake podcast.
You're right. My bad. I'm riled up already. Sorry.
My bad, Reed. You mentioned it. But we do have a lot of topics we can get into. We did get some more contract details as it does relate to Jalen Duren. We got actually 2 updates this week. We'll get into that. Some Kawhi intel as well, what it could possibly take if the Pistons are interested in that. Trey Murphy might get traded this week, according to Bill Simmons. Who knows? There was a mock trade by Bleacher Report today for Tyler Hero, which for a Bleacher Report article, I actually thought it was pretty realistic. And then we'll get into some NBA draft because we're getting really close to the NBA draft. I think we're about 2.5-ish weeks away from the NBA draft. So it'll be really interesting to see who the Pistons do take at 21 or if they even keep the pick at all. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But let's get into the Jalen Duren stuff. So there was a report from Sam Amick from The Athletic that the Detroit Pistons and Jalen Duren had a huge gap in negotiations. Then Hunter Patterson wrote an article this week saying like the ballpark for that would be 200 to 210 million. I guess just following like the contract stuff. Like, what are your thoughts on just like Jalen Duren getting the contract that he possibly wants, and just the discourse among fans with like I don't want to pay him $40 million to keep him in a Pistons uniform?
I understand the frustration. I understand the questions. The night and day performance that we saw from the regular season to the playoffs is pretty staggering. The fact that he is still 22 years old is, something worth thinking about and considering as well in these kind of discussions. So I'm not going to sit here and say that either side of these discussions are kind of off base. I think, we've seen enough data that kind of adds a lot of cause to the concern. But I think the investment, still should be worth it. I mean, I think based on who he is and what he was able to do, the growth that we've seen from him offensively, the growth that we've seen from him defensively, what he's meant for this team, his leadership, I think the production and the growth that we've seen, through the 4 years that we've seen him now with the Pistons, I think it speaks for itself. I think it was during Troy Weaver's era, I think it was the best move that he did by trading up and going to get him. And I think when people keep in mind, when you have contract extension talks, you don't pay somebody for what they did yesterday. You pay them for what you think they can do tomorrow. So, yes, I understand the concern about what we saw in the postseason, and that's not to be ignored. Trajan talked about it himself during the media meetup. The way he was neutralized against Orlando, the way he kind of struggled, here and there against Cleveland. It was alarming. It was very odd. It was not what we expected at all from a guy that was expected to be like the number 2 contributor. And to me, I still think the second most important Piston next to Cade Cunningham on this roster. you wanted to see better, but I still think better can be on the way for Jalen Duren. I think it's too early to kind of kick the bucket on that. What we saw has not been a pattern of issues for him. Yes, he has not always been the most consistent defender, but we have seen him turn it up and be that rim protector that we think he can be for the future. We've seen his offensive game grow. We've seen him stay, tenacious on the glass. And again, the leadership factor as well as a young 22-year-old is, worth celebrating and admiring as well. So, in terms of what the numbers are, I think they'll find something a little more comfortable. It's not surprising to me that they're not really on the same page right now. He bet on himself last offseason. He really wanted to get that big payday, and he did a lot to, maximize it with being All-NBA, becoming a All-Star. So, he's looking to, reap the benefits of that. But I understand the Pistons' hesitancy as well. But at the end of the day, I do think they'll find a way to get it done and, come to meet at a proper number.
Yeah, I think it's an agent's job to say, hey, we want that 287, like 100%.
Right.
I want my agent to say, like, go give me the max. But 287 to 200, to me, huge gap. That's a huge gap. That's $87 million over a 5-year period. Right. I think a lot of times when we look in the contract negotiations, I remember the Isaiah Stewart deal, and people hated it because it was like $15 million before the mid-level exception is what we know now is $15 million.
Right.
I think $40 million right now is going to be the new $30 million within the next couple of years. The way the CBA is going up, cap space is going up, incrementally from like 8 to 10% a year. I do think this is more of a investment long term. Like if you think that you can get Jalen Duren for $200 million or $190 or whatever it may be, whatever they decide on, and he keeps developing. Like almost average 20 points on dribble drives.
Yep.
What happens when you add a mid-range in there? What happens if he starts stepping out hitting threes?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when he actually has a go-to move in the post?
Yep.
Like, could he be on like a Joel Embiid type of trajectory of just being like a 26 and 10 guy?
Right.
Like you never really know. I mean, I think it's just an investment. I understand why fans are a little bit hand shy with that because you also have like a SARS extension looming,
right? And
you got Cade at $50 million, possibly Duren at $40 million, and the SAR at $30 million. The team gets really, really expensive. So I can understand, and I think this front office has a very good opportunity to kind of get everyone locked down for the next 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly the best way to do it. I don't think they're at a point where they're looking to like blow up what the core is. Again, these are still extremely young players right now, and I don't think any of them are quote unquote behind in what their development is supposed to be. People have questions about Asar's offensive game, even Duren's offensive game, showing how raw he can be as a player. But even with that being the case, again, I don't think he's behind in what we've seen thus far. I mean, I don't think anybody expected him to be able to show that he has the ability to play as an offensive hub when Cade Cunningham is off the floor. He did that. He excelled as a playmaker. He showed the ability to, take advantage of space around him, create advantages for others around him as well on the half-court sets. We just got to see it in consistent stretches now. Again, the NBA season is a long, long duration, and the Pistons just played their longest stretch of basketball with this young core that we've seen since they've been put together. So we kind of saw a lot of it. I think Cade kind of wore down a little bit. Like that last Game 7 against the Cavs, he just played like he was just gassed the whole time. Duren saw a lot of bodies all playoffs, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but these are the details that happened throughout the postseason. And a lot of what we saw, in the game set or the 7-game series against Orlando, the 7-game series against Cleveland, these were new, moments and pieces of territory that the Pistons had to go through. And again, I think coming back from a 3-1 deficit, during, making plays and finding ways to be productive, even if it wasn't offensively, I think we saw that. I think there was moments that you are a little more optimistic than pessimistic about his game. Again, if this was DeAndre Ayton who was doing this, then I can understand the worry and the concern because where he's at in his career. Duren is 22 years old, and I think he has plenty of opportunity to keep growing. I do think that mid-range game is going to come together. I do think he works on putting together some counters in terms of what his offensive scoring is going to look like. He works on it all the time. It just, it's kind of hard to finite it in the playoffs. And I think that'll be a big offensive key or a big offseason key for him because in the postseason, that's a big problem. Like when you get the first thing taken away from you, which was his dribble drive to try to blow past his opponent, you got to find something else to do. And I think that's something that he's going to really work on to kind of take his, raw outside game and kind of, round it out a little bit more.
I know you've documented a lot of his pregame workouts with the mid-range. Like, it's definitely a behind-the-scenes thing. It has been for the past couple of years. And I go back to, because when you were talking, I was thinking of an interview JB did with Run It Back on FanDuel. And he said, like, we told Jalen Duren, we want you to be more aggressive. I would assume, like, his game plan for him is we want you taking 12 to 15-foot jump shots all summer long. Because, like, if you start having, like, pick and pops with Cade or just, like, the little dump offs and dribble handoffs and having him more as, like, a secondary passer, I think it does open up a whole lot for other people around Cade and JD.
Right. I agree. Absolutely. I think people got a little fooled with some of the 3-point shots that he was taking last offseason and thought that was something he's going to unlock. Yeah. But I don't think they need that. I think that 15-footer is the next step. And I think we saw a big volume of that. Not a big volume, but we saw a lot more aggressiveness in trying to make that, something that he can build on, within his game. And it's there. I think the mechanics are there. The confidence is there. And, for players that we talk about, there's a lot of offensive raw players on this team, whether it's Duren, Asar, Ron Holland. Like, there's a lot of guys that have a lot of improvement and growth to show with their game. But when the confidence is there to try it, I think that's step one. And we saw that with Jalen Duren a lot. Even if it wasn't pretty, even if it wasn't perfect, the fact that he was even willing to work and try to make it happen showed a lot. Even his, I know people feel a way about when he's bringing the ball up and trying to be point Duren. I mean, great. It don't always look pretty, but the confidence being there for him to even try that shows the mental makeup of what he can bring to this team. And, for a team that needs a lot of assistance offensively, where you need to kind of find ways to step back from the heliocentric responsibility of Cade Cunningham, he was able to show what his, versatility can be, whether he's in or out of the lineup. We saw him and Danis Jenkins, form a pretty good rapport together when Cade was off the floor. Even Asar, I think they did a good job of kind of working together and, setting each other up at the rim as well. But yeah, that next step of growth is going to have to be there. I think Duren does kind of need to put that midi together and show that he can be a little bit more than, just a lob threat for Cade. Again, he showed that, but we got to see it more consistently, especially when the postseason gets here as well.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when you pump fake a mid-range and then you already have the dribble drive? Like, that's just a whole other arsenal. And, like, I already know he works with the guard whisperer, who's a really good skill development coach who has really transformed Evan Mobley's game, who's a knockdown 3-point shooter. So I know JD will put the work in. To me, like, it's the same conversation we had last year when people were doubting Cade's max. Like, they don't really care about the money. It's an investment. Like, I bet you they're really happy Cade's on only a 25% max right now. And not like a 30% max, because that'd be like 300 bands. Like, hell, that's so expensive to build a team, man. It's crazy.
Yep, that money's going up. It's not going to be easy. But again, you've seen the steps there. Again, these are not guys that you're just hoping and wishing and praying. There's been a lot of young players that fans were hoping and wishing and praying for. The Stanley Johnsons, the Killian Hayes, maybe if they unlock this or maybe if they get that. Again, these are not perfect players yet. They still have a lot of growing to do, but you've seen some of the areas where Jalen Duren can be reliable. Again, it just has to be seen in stretches at this point. And considering that it's taking the Pistons in directions that we have not seen with this core, winning 60 games, becoming a number one seed, like that kind of stuff still matters. Again, the Game 7 loss against the Cavs was terrible. It was absolutely horrible what we saw, but there are still plenty of things that happened before that give you plenty of reason to be hopeful that could be just a blip for this team. And I believe that is the direction.
100%. I did see a comment that I do want to answer in the live chat. So the Detroit Pistons will be free over the air. And Devin wants to know, how can you watch for free next season? I do know this, Devin. If you go on Amazon, you can actually buy a antenna that you can hook up to your TV through like a HDMI or just even a USB. And you can watch basic cable free over the air. I'm sure the Detroit Pistons, when it gets closer to the season, they might pull up Matt Ishbia and give all Pistons fans free antennas, which I think would be really cool. I'm not really sure, but I'm sure the Pistons, when it does get closer to preseason, like we're probably talking like around September, they'll make an update of how you can watch over the air for free, which I think is just a home run move by Tom Gores and the Pistons. Like talking about like UPN days over here, man. I'm old.
I miss those days. Those are the glory days, man. I mean, I've seen the fans, man. People have been frustrated trying to find different ways to get through. It shouldn't be this complicated to be able to watch your team. Like it's ridiculous. So the fact that they were able to make something happen and agree to get to TV 20, and I'm sure they're going to find other ways to keep it going as well. I think this is the ownership listening to the fans and trying to make life a little bit easier. So shout out to the front office, man. This is a huge move for them.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't cost that much money to actually like watch your sports team. In my personal opinion, it's honestly crazy. Last week we talked about Kawhi Leonard. I know a lot of people wanted the pitchforks at my damn head. Now, I will say, shout out to Hunter Patterson, really good reporter from The Athletic.
Love Hunter.
He was doing a Q&A, and I was looking for topics for the podcast, and someone asked him about Kawhi Leonard. And he had heard that what it would take for Kawhi to even be in consideration is a deal for him would be something like this. And I actually photoshopped the Sar and Duran and Clipper jerseys and a Kawhi Pistons jersey, but
you're nasty for that.
I know. The Clippers would likely request Jalen Duren or Sar Thompson in any trade that lands Kawhi Leonard, per Hunter Patterson of The Athletic. I mean, where are you at in like all these big names? I know we have the group chat, but I feel like we haven't really been as active in our group chat lately. Like, where have you kind of been at with like all the big names that have been linked, like the Kawhis, the Kyries, and others?
I hate it, to be honest with you. I don't like it at all. Like, there's no shade to Kawhi. He had a really good season. Played at an all NBA level. Played at a very durable level, which is extremely rare for him. But I hate it. I don't like these ideas at all. I don't like the Kyrie suggestions. I don't like the Kawhi suggestions. Why is it always the Pistons that got to be linked to the guys whose knees don't work no more or are questionable at the very least? Like, to me, I feel like Kawhi is 2.5 from wanting to retire soon. Like, look at his contract. I think he's got like 1 or 2 more years. He was a restricted free agent. He turns 35 this year or next season, if I'm not mistaken, or next year. Yeah. I'm good on that, bro. Like, I don't know. I think it's a terrible idea, especially when you have to give away your building block pieces like a guy like Asar, who you could build around or with for the next 5 to 10 years. Jalen Duren, if he keeps, improving his game, could be here for the next 5 to 10 years. Now, personally speaking, and Pistons fans, y'all, you hate me if I say it. I don't really care. I don't look at everybody on this roster as untouchable. I'm not against certain names being mentioned in discussions, but if they're going to be in these discussions, it has to be somebody that's not on the outside of their prime, looking towards retirement more so than the prime of their career. And Kyrie is not that. Kawhi is definitely not that. There's another name that I forgot that's in that same discussion. But no, I don't like it at all for the Pistons. Like, you shouldn't be. You're not at a point where you should be sacrificing your future for stopgap guys like this. Now, again, if it made sense for someone cheaper that's not going to be someone maybe for the next 5 to 10 years and it could be cheap, cool. But for Asar and for JD, I don't think that makes sense in any way, shape, or form. That would be a bad finesse. It would be a huge W for the Clippers. I don't think the Pistons should even be entertaining that conversation, in my opinion.
So Kawhi will be 30. He's 35. He'll be 36 this month, I believe. His birthday is in June.
Okay.
1 year left on his contract at $50 million. So essentially, it's a huge risk to trade for him because there's no guarantee he might sign with you. I mean, we saw what he did with Toronto, won his chip and bounced and went to LA.
Exactly.
I want to mention one thing that maybe people aren't really discussing. There's still an ongoing investigation with aspirations.
Yes.
They could void that contract and he could be a free agent.
Yep.
Like, let's say the Clippers get punished and they lose some draft capital. They got to relinquish that contract. I bet you Kawhi's going to LA to go play with Luka for like a year. Like, I think he wants to stay in California. Like, there's a really good chance that aspiration stuff gets out. I believe the guy that owned Aspirations, 14 years in jail for embezzling $250 million, which is exactly what Kawhi signed for. So it's like I think there's way more details with the aspiration stuff that's going to come out. If Kawhi does get his contract voided, I don't know if he's going to pick the Detroit Pistons as a free agency destination. We've never been free agent destinations. We just really haven't. We've always, traded for those guys like the Rasheed Wallace's back in the day. We've drafted guys from this regime, and you can even go back to Isaiah Thomas's days with the Bad Boys. Like, they drafted a lot of those guys through the draft and built it organically. So I'd be really surprised if they did make a move involving Jalen Duren or Asar Thompson, for that matter, especially Asar Thompson. I think the organization is so high on him as a player. JD, I'm not sure. I feel like it's like 60-40 right now. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he got traded in a deal, but I don't think it would be for Kawhi Leonard.
No, I don't think so either. I think Trajan has been very clear on how much they're trying to value the next 5 to 10 years for this team instead of what can we do right now. Now, granted, they do need to make some right now type moves, and they have been doing that. I mean, even going back to the last season, acquiring guys like Malik Beasley, acquiring Tobias, trading for Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, those were smart, right now moves, but they were very dirt cheap moves that they did. So it made sense to go ahead and do that. If you're going to blow up for a guy like Asar or Jalen Duren, you need to be looking for somebody that's 25 years old, barely scratching the surface of their prime, that could be a star at some point down the line. I don't think Kawhi fits that timeline in any way, shape, or form. I agree with you. I think he wants to be in win now type situations. And like you said, I couldn't see him. Not to say that he would be unhappy in Detroit, because I think he wouldn't make them a good team. I think they would still win. But again, I just feel like Kawhi is literally just like, if people joke about Jokic, always thinking about, his horses and his goats. I feel like the same thing about Kawhi. I feel like Kawhi is like, dang, I like basketball, but man, I'd rather be playing pinball somewhere. Like, that's just how I think of Kawhi when I'm thinking this dude. Like, I don't think he cares about basketball that much at this point in his career. He's got what he wants to do. He's the top 75 player of all time. He's won a ring. He's one of the greatest defensive players of all time. Like, if he literally hung it up next year, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And people are talking about you blowing it up for your 2 of your top 3 guys for him potentially. That just makes no sense to me at all.
Oh, I agree. I mean, 2-time champion, one with the Spurs, one with the Raptors. Hell of a defender when he's healthy. He actually played 65 games this year, which was kind of surprising, considering he's like the captain of load management. Like, I feel like he's kind of just like, if you talk about load management, you look it up in the dictionary, it's like LeBron and Kawhi Leonard, like 1A and 1B. But I mean, honestly, I like him as a player. The 55 points that he hung on the Pistons, man, he could not miss that night, man. He was just on one. I've never seen him like that locked in from the mid-range and 3. Whatever happens, I want to see what happens with this aspiration thing, man, because I think it could go completely south, and maybe the Clippers actually lose their top 5 pick before the draft. So that would be like such a hammer by Adam Silver. Like, oh yeah, you lost your pick that you traded for from the Pacers. We're going to relinquish it.
I'm surprised nothing kind of came up over that. Like, I thought, great, it was awesome to see that he was healthy this year, but I swear the work that Pablo was doing and the research I thought something was going to pop up with what happened with the Malik Beasley thing and how he's been pushing throughout the offseason. I thought something was going to come up in the regular season, but he was able to, play through and, play at an all-NBA level, and it was cool to see. Yeah, that 55-point game was tough. He didn't need no foul baiting to do it either. He could not miss from anywhere on the floor. That was an unbelievable performance against one of the best defensive teams in all of basketball. But again, how often he'll be able to do that and replicate that, I think is going to be an aberration. But someone will find a way to pull a trigger on him. I don't think he's going to stay at the Clippers much longer.
No, I think he definitely will either just ride it out for one more year and see what happens with the Clippers, or that aspiration investigation is going to get a little bit more hotter, because I was pretty locked in, and I'm sure Sean's probably like punching the wall that we didn't invite him on to talk about the aspirations, because he's so into this shit, dog.
He is.
if he watches this later, he's probably gonna be so mad at us that we didn't invite him on to talk about
He gonna text us for sure. Really? Sorry, Sean. We love you, buddy. We love you, man.
Shout out to Sean, man. Nah. The text he sent us in the group chat earlier had me dead.
The AI pictures. They did him dirty. That was messed up. I didn't even get the text back. I just saw it and just started laughing.
Man, made him look like Peter Griffin, man. Like, what are we
Dead
doing,
ass. Like, who's Diet Woj over here? Why y'all got my guy looking like this?
Right. Shout out to Sean, man. I want to get into a mock trade that I did see from Bleacher Report. And honestly, for the most part, Bleacher Report's mock trades are usually pretty trash. I'm sure you've seen a lot, whether you're on other podcasts, but I saw this Tyler Hero one and I didn't think it was actually that crazy. So the mock trade they would have is Tyler Hero to the Detroit Pistons in exchange for Isaiah Stewart, Karis LeVert, not this year's first, next year's, so 2027 first, and one of our second-round picks that we got from the Milwaukee Bucks in a trade. So, I mean, you see a trade like this for Tyler Hero, I mean, does this at least kind of just, intrigue you a little bit?
It kind of does. I'm not going to lie. I'm not the biggest Tyler Hero fan, but that asking price, I don't think is super crazy. Like you said, next year's first, a second through Milwaukee, Karis LeVert, which we know who he is at this point, and Stu, who we love, is, obviously the heart and soul of, the defense of this team and a great energy guy. I wouldn't call him untouchable, though. That's the thing. I know a lot of people might, from an emotional standpoint, I understand that. But in terms of basketball, in terms of what the number one priority needs to be for this basketball team, which is helping Cade Cunningham as much as possible, taking him off the ball, getting other shooters and scorers around him to take some pressure off of him, I don't hate the trade. Again, would I do it? Maybe, maybe not. But you would maybe tinker around it, maybe, play with a couple other pieces and, add a couple alterations to it. But I don't think it's a terrible idea. I mean, again, this is what's going to come with the territory now, y'all. The Pistons are at a place where the rest of the East is getting a lot better. I've been saying all season long, I think the East is better than people were giving it credit for. And it's only going to get stronger as, people see these doors open and as other players are getting healthy as well. So, it's going to have to be some tough conversations where if you want Cade to, not have as many turnovers as he's had, if you don't want to see him gassed, by the postseason, you're going to have to find a way to get him some help. And it may cost some tough players and some tough names that you may have fell in love with over the past few years. But if you want a championship and you really want to be in those kind of conversations and windows, these are the kind of combos you got to be having.
I mean, I've seen some really bad mock trades with the Pistons, really bad.
Yeah.
I think a lot of mock trades that I see with the Pistons, they might solve one issue, but then it actually creates three more problems.
Right.
And I think the reason why we see Stu involved in so many trades is because I think a lot of people are anticipating that Duren is going to get that $40 million.
Right.
It's really hard to say our center crop between Duren, Stu, and Paul Reed, that could be around $60 million.
Right.
And I think that's why Stu's involved in so many, is because his contract is very movable and it's very favorable. I mean, $15 million for a very good shot blocker, has the ability to hit threes occasionally, which I kind of wish he would shoot more threes. I don't know why he doesn't with JB, but that's beside the point. I don't think this trade is terrible. I mean, it does actually fix two problems that Trajan talked about. More perimeter spacing, which Tyler Hero does, and more of a playmaker. I mean, I know some people think of Tyler Hero as the sniper, but he's an actual pretty good playmaker, kind of an underrated playmaker in the sense. But I could understand if people see this mock, seeing the first, seeing Stu or Tyler Hero and say nah, man, if we're going to have Stu in a first in a trade, we got to go a little bit bigger. We got to think bigger than Tyler Hero.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. And the center core crop that you were talking about is extremely important as well. Knowing that Duren faced some injuries, the suspension between him and Stu after the melee with the Hornets. B-Ball Paul was phenomenal. He was a godsend in the playoffs when they needed him most. And again, this is a guy that's barely, scratching the surface in terms of the opportunity that he was able to get. Shout out to Downtown Deuce and Sarah his co-host, they actually brought this up a lot on their show where they were talking about a lot of games this year where B-Ball Paul was getting more points than minutes when he was getting opportunities. Yeah. So that was mad cool to see him because he easily could have sulked and said, man, can I get some time? Can I get some burn? Like, again, I take a lot of time to watch the pregame of the players, you know, when they're putting in their time and working and getting prepared in the pregame. He was one of the hardest workers in pregame all season long. And he was one of the guys that you never knew if he was going to play or not. So I think what his professionalism, the versatile dynamic he was able to bring to this basketball team on both sides of the ball, I think he was fantastic on defense too when asked for. And we saw a bit of a decline from Stu after he won that Defensive Player of the Month, unfortunately, earlier in the year. So I think B-Ball Paul in a situation like with the Pistons where they need a lot more two-way guys that can impact both sides of the floor, he was doing that at a high level. And I think he does a good job of, like I saw people talking about on Twitter, maybe he could be the four of the future. I think he's a little better suited as that, you know, unpredictable wild card off the bench to bring as your energy guy, you know, for the dog pound than the guy that you play for 20, 30 minutes, you know, next to JD. I just think he'd be a little bit better suited with that in terms of how you can structure what your roster looks like. But how he played this year was an unbelievable, you know, setting for the team. And I think it does kind of open up the door to discuss the expendability of Isaiah Stewart in these kind of off seasons.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we continue to see mock trades like this. Like this one to me, I thought was at least reasonable. Like this could actually be like a 3-team trade if like Giannis got dealt to Miami and like the Pistons were like, hey, like what are you doing with Tyler Hero? Like we'll get involved in that. Like maybe you don't have to give up a first and a second. Maybe you can just like try to put yourself in it.
Right.
We're not going to answer any questions about the Knicks on this podcast. Detroit Sports Talk.
The who? Who?
Detroit Sports.
Oh, are they playing today? I don't know nothing about the Knicks. No, we're not talking about the. Ain't nothing to talk about with the New York Knicks today.
No, I mean honestly, like I'm not like too mad at that mock trade. Like I've seen way worse ones. Like did you see the Paul George one from a couple of weeks ago?
No, what was that?
It was like Paul George, and they would give us a first for I think like Harris, Stu, and Ron, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Nah, it's the same kind of guys though. Like Paul George, a guy that played, you know, 30, 40 games a season. And granted, you're going to get some great games, but how many of those are you going to stack up and how long can you bank on it? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to see them do that. I think they can do better.
Someone said I would take off the first.
Right.
It would be actually like Philly sending us a first just to take on that contract. It wouldn't be us sending them a first.
Gotcha.
Even if like Philly gave us a first, I would still be like, bro, like unless he's on PEDs, I'm good. Like PED, Paul George was just like on another planet, man. Like he was like scoring like 25 points a game. He was playing back to back. So I was like, bro, like is Paul George? Oh, he's on PEDs. Never mind.
No, that's a pass. I think we see the best of Paul George. Again, they were hoping for something different in Philly, and he just has not looked like the same guy in quite some time. That's a pass.
No, he's more of the podcast P.
Yes, he is.
Than anything. I want to talk about another player that I think a lot of Pistons fans are very interested in, and it's Trey Murphy. So, Bill Simmons this week said he expects Trey Murphy to get traded within the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Now, right after he said that, the Boston Celtics were entertaining trading Jaylen Brown possibly for Trey Murphy, which – it kind of just makes you think like, man, if Boston's willing to get off Jaylen Brown, what would it take to get Trey Murphy in a Detroit Pistons uniform? I mean, should Pistons fans want Trey Murphy, you think? Or do you think the asking price is just way too high if Boston's willing to get off a guy that was just second-team All-NBA, almost averaged 30 points on the second-seeded Boston Celtics this year?
I think he's worth whatever gamble that they need. I think Trey Murphy is a phenomenal basketball player, and I think he's getting better. Again, when we're talking about these kind of discussions and these kind of moves, you don't want to just crash for somebody in this moment with a young core that you have. You want somebody that can help you right now and potentially 5 years down the line as well. And I think Trey Murphy fits everything that this basketball team needs. He can create his own shot, can get to the hoop, I think he's an underrated defender, not a great defender, but I think in a JB Biggerstaff system and other quality defenders around him, I think you would see that production grow exponentially in his game. A very unselfish player. Something that I also love about him is, well, as we watched Tobias over these past couple years, he was really good with the Pistons. He struggled scoring in transition a lot. Like, he was getting stifled a lot in transition. Trey Murphy is a guy where you can throw the ball up to the rafters and he's going to go get it and go get you a transition slam. I love the way he plays. I think he's phenomenal. I think the Pistons, not only do I think he fits well with what the Pistons need, the biggest concern for me, because I've seen other teams interested in him, like you just said, the Celtics, the Pacers could be an option for him as well. The last thing you want to have to deal with is him going to a team that you got to go through to get to the title, especially when they're just a piece or two away. So you're kind of playing chicken with other teams around as well. It's not like if he gets traded, I don't think he's going to stay in the Western Conference. I think a lot of teams in the East are interested in his services, and it makes complete sense. So for me, like, there was a Desmond Bain like package that was going around for him in terms of like the discussions. I personally think he's worth it. Like, I don't think the Pistons are in a position where they need to be over banking on draft picks right now when you have a core like with a Cade, JD, and Asar, and potentially a guy like, Trey Murphy to add through. I think you need to be I think they need to be able to keep their mind open for a player like him. And also, let's also think it's important to understand this. I don't think they're just a Trey Murphy away from getting to where they want to be. I also think they need another shooter. I think they need some more internal growth from the guys on their roster. I don't think he is just the end-all fix for this team. I still do think they need a couple more pieces to go with it, but he's a great start to, again, solve for, priority number one for this offseason, which is help Cade Cunningham not play heliocentric basketball anymore.
100%, man. I actually made a top 5 list of the teams I could actually see him getting traded to this offseason. And you already named off two. We talked about Boston. You talked about Indiana, but I could see Golden State just kind of getting in there. I feel like, who knows how long Steph Curry is going to be around for. Jimmy Butler, I don't know when he's going to be back. I doubt Kristaps Porzingis comes back. He'll probably get the bag somewhere in free agency, but I could see Golden State definitely being players, and I could also see OKC just saying, screw it. Like, we got picks, we got players. Maybe we're not that sold on Chet Holmgren. We do know that you need a center. I mean, OKC could just ruin everybody's party and just get freaking pretty much anyone this offseason, man. Like, they really be so
sick. I'll be sick to death if they're the team that ends up landing the biggest trade target of this offseason. The last team that needs it will be the Oklahoma City Thunder, but it will be such a presti move for them to make that happen. It's not going to be easy for the Pistons, so I think it is important to keep that in mind. I don't think Joe Dumars or Troy Weaver are trying to do the Pistons any favors, but knowing, the connection that Trajan Langdon has had with Trey Murphy, I could see the interest being there and it making sense. He's a fantastic player, man. He's super fun to watch, plays above the rim. It's exactly what the kind of player they need. It's unfortunate to see how raw the Pistons have been in terms of what their front court scoring has looked like. He would change so much of that on the floor for this basketball team. You can allow him to play big. You can kind of play small with him as well, move him around, possibly from 2 through 4. I think it just makes too much sense, man. Again, I do not want to see him go to a team like the Pacers, where you're going to have to see him then 4 times a year, like Donovan Mitchell did when he went to the Cavaliers. The East is not playing around. Teams are smelling blood and opportunity, and they want to take their shot. And I think now is a perfect time for the Pistons to go make something happen.
Yeah, you do not want to see him in the Central Division, because I feel like Indiana could actually offer a pretty decent package as well, because they do have some role players that I think could help New Orleans, in my opinion. But like, I just think they need a center. I think if you're Detroit, and I want to give Sam Vecini and Bryce Simon credit, because they had mentioned, what if you do a sign and trade with Jalen Duren for Trey Murphy straight up? Like, maybe you throw a Yiv Missy in there just to try to get the Pistons another center. Like, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Like, if you're trying to just like get a Trey Murphy, maybe you're not in love with paying Duren $40 million. Maybe the center position isn't as important to you as maybe getting Cade, maybe a second or a third option.
Would you you mentioned JD as an option, I understand that. So if you were to get Trey, who would you be not willing to give up outside of Cade Cunningham to get him to bring him to this team?
I can't do a Sar. Anything else, it's like I would like, you know what, like you can have anybody on this roster. Like Cade and Sar are off limits. Like have your pick.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from. I personally don't agree. I like Asar a lot. I need to see a lot from Asar Thompson in terms of growth. Like I need to see way more development from him. I think his defense is, leaps and bounds. That speaks for itself. But the offense, I think, needs to really come along a lot stronger for what this team needs. Like Cade cannot be handcuffed with two guys, who can't shoot or create their own offense consistently for the next 5 years if they're trying to get to a championship. I think they need a lot more help around him. We even saw Duncan Robinson kind of get, handcuffed a lot in the Cleveland series. When he wasn't on, there was a problem. Granted, when they brought Danis on the floor for him in his position, we saw things change and elevate for him. But I don't know. I have a different view in terms of the untouchables of this team, but I understand why people would want to keep Asar. I'm not saying you should be trying to trade him, but I don't know. I'm a little higher on Trey Murphy's ceiling than I am on Asar's personally, but we'll see. I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I think we can have a conversation about this. Like, I personally believe, like, if you want to build this team, we'll say like 5 years out, and we know Cade Cunningham is a centerpiece you're building around. I think it's harder to find a player like Asar than it is a Jalen Duren. Like, I can find a big that can catch lobs and rim roll and do stuff like that. Obviously, like the dribble drives that he did this year are a little bit more difficult to find, but you can find centers that can protect the rim a little bit and catch lobs with Cade Cunningham. Like, I'll just use this guy as an example. Like, I know he's like way past his prime, but Andre Drummond and Cade would just like kill it in pick and rolls with like in dunks and lobs. But I'm not saying like go give Andre Drummond the bag, but I'm saying it's a little bit easier to find an archetype like a JD. I think Asar is a little bit more unique because of the defender he is, but I can understand why some people have pushback with the offensive game, and I agree with you. I think he does need to take a step in the offensive side of his game, because so many times this year it seemed like he was so hesitant to even go up strong with it, or maybe take a mid-range jump shot. Maybe it's just not there yet. I don't really know what like the 10-step plan is with Fred Vincent and Asar Thompson. I know he said that they were focusing on free throws and mid-range jump shots at the free throw line, but like maybe they go out to the more corner threes, more threes at the top of the key. I'd be really interested to see like what he looks like going into this season if he's a little bit more aggressive. But I could understand why you're not like that sold on him on the offensive end. Defensively, man, like the kid covers so much ground. It's insane.
Yeah, that's undisputable for sure. Like, I love especially against the Orlando series, he was a demon everywhere. Like, when they tried to bring the ball up, the way he was able to, block everything, steal everything, and, just cover the ground that he was able to cover. The Cavs did a good job of going away from him, which was kind of discouraging, but I mean, that's just the sign of a great team, being able to counter your best moves. I think Asar has a chance. A lot of people are saying that he is already the second most important player of this team. I don't know if I'd agree with that yet, just because I think offensively we've seen him take a lot of plays off where they're not trying to really get him involved for obvious reasons. Jalen Duren has to be involved on every single play for this basketball team, whether it's in pick and roll sets with Cade, whether he's crashing the glass, whether he's trying to create his own looks on the offensively, whether he's playing, drop, or if he's playing as a rim protector on defense. He has to be involved all the time. Like, Asar has had the ability to kind of chill in the corner or not be involved in certain plays. Jalen Duren does not have the ability to do that. I do agree with what you're saying. It is definitely harder to find a player like Asar in terms of what his proven intangibles are, or tangibles, and including his athleticism. I also do think he's a bit further behind in terms of what his offensive, progression ceiling looks like right now, while we've at least seen Jalen Duren take the steps of, working on the areas that we've needed, shooting better, the free throw line, working on his confidence with the midi, blowing past defenders, with dribbles, getting to the hoop. Like, that's been there. We've seen it on display. It just has to get there consistently. Asar is kind of at the ground level of what his development is offensively, and that has to turn around immediately, because I'm a little worried about that in terms of what we've seen from him so far, personally.
I feel like he's kind of playing within a box. He's playing within the system. I felt like Ron was kind of in that same kind of category where JB has defined roles for everybody, and they play within those roles. To me, I think if you gave Asar a little bit longer of a leash, I think he could be a little bit more aggressive. Like, you even saw it in the playoffs at times. Like, he'll be right at the rim, and then he's like looking around with the ball to see where to pass it to.
I hate that.
And it's just like, you're more athletic than anyone on the court. I'd rather you just go up strong, and I know you're a really good offensive rebounder, that you could probably go back and get that offensive rebound and get a putback, or even just like hustle for it. But again, I think it's more of a systematic thing in what JB is asking out of Asar, and JB's rotations with him are just like really inconsistent too. Like 1 minute, he's playing like 20 minutes, like some nights he's playing like 16 minutes. And obviously, like, the foul trouble is a big issue with that. But when he does stay out of foul trouble, I mean, there's no way he should not be playing at least 25 to 30 minutes a night.
I definitely agree with that. I want to see him play like a Giannis type, with a Giannis type aggression. Giannis is a terrible free throw shooter, but he'll at least, use his strength, his athleticism to at the very least draw a foul on you. And if I only split 1 out of 2 from the line, cool, it is what it is. But it's going to wear your defense down by the fourth quarter, and he has the athleticism to do that. Obviously not as strong as Giannis, but yeah, it drives me crazy to do the exact same thing you just said. How many times did we see Cade bring the ball up, dribble for 6 seconds, give it to Asar Thompson, and Asar gives it right back to Cade, or he's not even looking at the rim to try to blow past his opponents. Even during the regular season, I remember against the Knicks where, you have Jalen Brunson, who's not a good defender, and he's guarding Asar because, that's not the strong suit of their offense. So even if you're not a great offensive scorer, you have a mismatch, and it's not even like you're trying to hunt it or trying to take advantage of it. You're literally just trying to look around for passes and looking for the next play to set somebody else up. That has to change with this basketball team. Again, I don't expect him to become a sniper, by next season. I don't expect him to be, a 35% three-point shooter. That doesn't have to be his game. But in terms of what I want to see from him in improvement, his offensive aggression and his free throws. Whatever the numbers look like, outside of the free throws, I have a standard for that. But the offensive aggression and confidence, that's step 1 of your growth in terms of what your scoring should look like. And we're still waiting to see that on a consistent basis from one of your most important players on the roster.
That's why I think it's just a coaching thing. And I know if you ask JB straight up, he would just give you some coach speak of talking about, like, we trust all of our guys. He's not going to tell you, like, what the defined role is for Asar Thompson. Like, his defined role could just be, like, switch defensively, offensively, bring the ball up the court, set everything up. And, if there's a backdoor cut or if there's a slip action or anything like that, like, kind of like go into those areas. I think right now they're just giving him like small responsibilities. And as, JB can, trust him a little bit more. Maybe he gets more responsibilities, because there's no way like a guy that athletic gets the ball like 2 feet away from the rim and then turns his back to see where Cade Cunningham or Duncan Robinson is coming.
Right.
Because like if you watched him at OTE, he didn't play like that at all. Like he was more of the off-ball twin, and Amen was more of the on-ball twin, and Asar was the better three-point shooter in OTE. So I think to me, it's just more of a system and what JB has in place. So maybe he gives him a little bit more of a longer leash going into this season in 26, where maybe he's a little bit more aggressive. Like you said, I think a lot of people focus so much on the three-point shooting. Like if he just had a tighter handle, and like you were saying, like be a little bit more aggressive, like have that Giannis type of mentality of just putting your shoulder down and getting to the line and just getting into like your spots and hitting at least. I don't need you to be an 80% free throw shooter. You're like a 72% free throw shooter. I'm good with it, man. Like
that's where I'm at.
My expectations aren't crazy. Like I think he can be that because he's a very talented basketball player.
You cannot be fighting with Rudy Gobert as the second worst free throw shooter in basketball. Like that cannot be the conversation. Again, you don't have to be Steph. You don't have to be Chauncey Billups or whatever. You don't have to be that. But you cannot be fighting with Rudy Gobert as the potentially worst free throw shooter in basketball. Like that cannot be a thing. That has to show some kind of growth, especially seeing what we just saw from Jalen Duren. If Duren within this conversation as a big, where bigs are notoriously known for being bad free throw shooters, then, it is what it is. You would see that. But he's grown basically each season to get better and better and better as a shooter. Asar's got to come along and do the exact same thing sooner than later, in my opinion.
I think he will. Like, again, I think it's just what the coach is asking out of you to do. Right. I know Mr. Ray said that Koo said that that's what JB was having him actually do. Koo mentioned that the Pistons did go to Asar a month into the season and asked him to be more of a cog versus player. We prioritize developing offensively this season, which makes sense. Like, if you want him just to kind of be in the cog situation versus being more aggressive, like maybe they gave him more of a longer leash to be more aggressive, which I think they will.
I hope so. Again, we all see what the potential looks like with this guy. I think he has more of a ceiling than being just a cog. Again, giving him the responsibility to bring the ball up, facilitate offense. His passing, I think has gotten better and better each season. The handle has gotten a little bit better. It was kind of sloppy a little bit to start the season, but I think it got better as the year went on. And again, if you're gonna have Cade kind of step back a little bit more, like I want to see Cade post up more. I want to see him play more, in catch and shoot situations. And Asar's going to have to be one of those guys that can help kind of release some of that responsibility and stress his way. So I agree. I think sooner or later we're going to see some of that improvement. I guess we'll see what it will look like soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, he's going to get in the gym. He's going to have his second healthy offseason to, work on his skills. And I think he's going to have a breakout season. I think he'll have a season like he did with his brother, because I just think the type of prospect he is and the type of player he is, I'll definitely just kind of have more offensive responsibilities and not just pass the ball when he's right at the rim. When I know he could probably – I'm still waiting for him to put someone on a poster. I'm still waiting for it.
Bruh, I'm so tired of him with these little casual soft dunks. Go break the glass, bruh. You jump way too high. You get up too crazy. Go put two people on a poster at the same time. You have the ability to do it. Enough, please. Come on, bro. You can't be dunking nice with braids and a fro, bro. That don't mix. You cannot be passive with braids and a fro. Get it together, please.
Yeah, what should be like on Sam Merrill or something like that?
Right. Derek White. Excuse me. Sorry. How to get there. Anyway, yeah.
To get the Derek White jab in there. Watch the Pistons trade for him. That would be your ultimate nightmare.
Oh my God, I'm literally nightmares about that. I'm sure it's gonna come up with Bleacher Report sooner or later.
Oh, you already know. We have one more topic for this podcast. With it being NBA draft season, I've been asking guests that have come on this summer who their favorite prospect is for the Detroit Pistons if they do stay at 21.
I love what I'm seeing from Jaden Henley. I think he is very fun to watch. I think he's super explosive. I've really been interested in the Pistons, prioritizing a forward or a front court guy, but I think the way he's playing or the way he plays is very suitable for what they need. And he's a 6'7" guard too, which is awesome. I like, playing with a big lineup, especially when you have Cade, who's 6'7" himself. I think he will be perfect with this basketball team. I love how he attacks the rim. I love what his offensive upside could be with this basketball team. I think he will be perfect here. I like Dylan Mitchell a lot as well. I was watching some film on Malik Thomas. It's some very interesting guys that they can, consider around that range. I think it was a blessing that they were able to get to that number 21 spot because there's definitely some value with it as well. And it's also good to know that while I do think a lot of these guys do have good upside and they could bring a helpful body to the Pistons, it feels good to know that they don't have the same pressure as what Cade had when he was drafted or what JD had when he was drafted. Like, these are guys that can kind of develop at their own pace instead of, hey, we need you to get it together right now. So, they're in a favorable position where they can kind of take their time and gradually, step in when it's time. But it's definitely a lot of interesting names. I'm really interested to see where the Pistons can go. But for me, Jaden Henley's at the top of my list personally.
I think you could probably get him in the undrafted free agent market because he's not even ranked in the top 60, bro.
Oh, wow.
No, like he's a good player. Like he's really athletic. He kind of reminds you of Jaden Ivey a little bit. I know a lot of people like, oh, enough drafting Jaden's because of like what happened with him off the court, which, like I guess Jaden Ivey was right. Pistons aren't going to matter on Judgment Day. We're here doing a podcast, not in the finals. I saw that before we went live, and someone's like, Jaden Ivey was right. I was like, man, like you guys are crazy.
No, when that quote came up, everyone knew, like, please don't let that bite them in the ass later. Please do not let that bite them in the ass. And it did. It sure as hell did.
Yeah. I hope Ivey's doing well. Maybe he will have an NBA return. I really don't know what's going on with him. But every time I see that, like, on my timeline, I just kind of like, yeah, like, that's going to be in the meme bank for quite some time. But
for sure.
One of the guys you did mention for the Detroit Pistons, Malik Thomas, he's actually mocked to go there at 21 by Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports, which, I mean, if you're talking about like a shot maker, you're talking about a guy that can just light it up. I like Malik Thomas a lot. Him and Isaiah Evans to me would make the most sense if you're just looking for a guy that can fill it up from three. But I mean, have you kind of looked at any of the point guards in the draft, like a Bennett Sturts, an Abuko Corey, or a Christian Anderson Jr.?
Yeah, I've heard a couple of the. I'm getting to the early steps of my mocking and my drafting scouting right now. But yeah, I've definitely heard the names and peeked a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one player you would probably like, just for me, I think you would really like Alan Graves out of Santa Clara. He's a power forward. Do your homework a little bit. I definitely think that you'll like some of the power forwards. I mean, Merez Johnson actually might be there from Michigan. He's actually falling in a lot of mocks. He might be there at 21 if the Pistons want to draft him.
Are you at a best player available situation, or do you want them to go for a specific position at that spot?
Personally, I think if I'm them, I'm going for more of a contributor. And if the contributor there is the best player on that draft board at the time, like I see Christian Anderson Jr., either he's up at 16 or he's down at 27. 40% from three, and he can handle the ball, and he's a good playmaker. Like that kind of checks a lot of boxes of what Trajan was talking about. Know a lot of Pistons Twitter loves Abuko Corey out of Stanford. 6'2", probably has the best handles in the draft. Kind of gives me a little bit of like the way he handles the rock, like a Kemba Walker. Like I'm not comparing him to Kemba, but I mean he's got kind of like you go to the park and you're playing a guy and he's just got like crazy handles. And his ability to shoot the rock as well. I think a lot of people kind of look at his size like, we already have like Marcus Sasser, but this kid's
just about to bring that up. Yeah.
Like I said, he's a way better playmaker. I honestly think you would like a Corey a little bit. There's a little bit of Jaden Ivey tendencies as well, just the way he likes to play in transition. But I think this really depends like who's on the board at that time. Like if there's a player that kind of slips, like I've seen Cameron Carr lately, who's kind of been like a favorite from Pistons fans. He's actually been dropping in a lot of mocks. Like I've seen him top 15. I've kind of seen him like around 18. Like, do you trade up to try to get him if he's like around 17 to 18?
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I don't want them to rely on any more just raw players that are trying to that are going to take a lot longer than you're willing to wait. I like a lot of the guys that I mentioned who have shown the ability to just be aggressive bucket getters that aren't scared of anything. That don't mean you got to be perfect. That don't mean you're, going to light it up and hit, 20 a game off the bench or wherever your opportunity is going to be. But I like the dynamic that I've seen from guys like Malik Thomas. I actually think I've pulled some tape on Alan Graves. I'm impressed with that. I want to see that instead of a lot of these guys that are, like we've seen a lot of guys be relied on for grit. Sometimes you need a little more talent than grit, and there's a lot of grit on this team from Isaiah Stewart, from Ron Holland to Asar. Like it's a lot of that, but you're going to need a little bit more talent too, especially when postseason basketball gets here as well. And that was a big difference in a lot what we saw with how the Cavs and how the Magic attacked the Detroit Pistons. So yeah, that's going to have to be a big focal point to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the one player that's like the grit is Zubi Ejiofor out of St. John's, who does play with Dylan Mitchell. I mean, like he's just the embodiment of grit. Like he is just kind of reminds you of Stu in a sense. Like he's just like he plays so damn hard, and it's just like like could totally see the Pistons just like saying, "Hey, we're gonna reach for Zubi Ejiofor just because we like the character and like how hard he plays." Like, I could totally see that happening.
So he'll be number one on the draft board for sure. For the exact reason you said. Great character, great guy. The power of friendship. Those are the key points for trading like that.
Power of friendship, man.
Grit and the power of friendship.
I've seen that on my timeline so much. It's honestly so funny. I know Matthias says Lindenberg would be awesome. That's a trade up option all day. Like if you want Yaks, you're gonna have to trade up for them. And in my personal opinion, like we're gonna have this conversation, you're probably trading away Ron Holland to get Yaks Lindenberg.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be anywhere from 10 to 12. And like if OKC's at 12, 100% they would ask for Ron Holland. It's Sam Presti. Like do they want to pay Lou Dort $18 million on a team option or let him go? And do you want to replace him? Like I mentioned this last week with Brandon. I was like, Sam Presti would love a Ron Holland. He would fit straight into their culture, like just defensive minded. Like they would love it. But like this really depends what Pistons fans want. Like I think Yaxel actually checks a lot of boxes. Even though he is 23, it doesn't bother me. Like I watch him play. Like I see so much like young Miles Bridges. I see his ability to knock 3-pointers down. He's super athletic. I think some people are on the fence with him whether or not he'll translate to the NBA level because he was in the same draft class as Cade, but he kept reclassifying. But I mean, he's a hell of a prospect if you can get him.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't like when people, try to hold too much of he's old now at this point. I mean, you don't need any more kids. Like, you don't need any more babies that are trying to figure it out. It's like Jalen Duren's 22. Like, and you're talking about him getting a max at this point. Like, you need some proven guys that know basically who they are as players more so than it could be this in 5, 10 years. Like, no, you need something that's kind of a little more proven now. I love Yaxel too. I like the Miles Bridges comparison. Filling out already with a good NBA body. I think he's going to be very impactful wherever he goes. I don't think he's going to slip down, and I personally don't think the Pistons are going to trade up. But he would be perfect. It would be such a great fit to see him here over Detroit Pistons, especially how much they love the local ties with players as well. So I think it would be perfect.
I mean, he went to 2 Pistons games this year, and Duncan Robinson could not miss a shot. Anytime the University of Michigan was at a game, like Duncan Robinson just it's like, hey, I'm going to go 6 for 6 tonight. Like straight up. But I did see a question that I wanted to kind of run by you. Shout out to Camille for actually asking this question. And it had to do with like Ron and Stu. So in your opinion, Ron and Stu stay on the team? I'm not sure about Ron. Maybe I could try him out until the trade deadline, but I feel like Stu has served his time. What do you guys think?
Do I think they should stay on the team? I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea. It all just depends on what the return is. Like if you're you're not going to be shooing them off just for draft picks. I feel like these are players that you're going to be packaging for something serious. Again, like Trey Murphy being a huge name. And if it costed one of those 2 guys to get him, I think it makes all the sense in the world. I've like people ask me all season, during my, broadcast during the season, if you see Ron turning into a 20 point scorer per game. I personally don't. I don't think we've seen enough of his bag. I don't think we've seen enough growth in terms of that to, look at him as a guy like that. He's a good transition scorer, really good defender, really good defensive playmaker. But I mean, Trey Murphy's he's a complete package of a player, man. Like I think he's a great number 2 option to have. I think he helps spread open a lot of what this team needs. And even with Stu, like I like what Stu does. But I feel like, great, I think his defensive, tenacity is great. I think you can, to some extent, fill that with a guy like Paul Reed that you already have on your roster. I don't think the Pistons take too much of a drop-off if the Pistons lose Stu and they play Paul Reed about 20 minutes a night, and he has to be your new 6th, 7th man. I don't think that's a bad thing to have at all. So, again, I'm not opposed to any ideas. Again, to me, In my opinion, I think the only untouchable name on this roster is Cade Cunningham. Everybody else I'm willing to have a conversation about. Now, who, in terms of you're interested in who what the return is going to be a separate convo in itself. But it has to be worth, what the return is going to be, in my opinion.
I personally think like when you kind of look at the guys on the bench, I can understand why so many Pistons fans are like, if Duran's getting that money, like we got to get off Stu, because like having that much money in your center crops is a lot. But I think these two are probably the most valuable on your bench. Like I think it really depends like what the trade package is, to your point. Like I'm not opposed to having conversations about trading either one of these guys. It just depends like what the offer is. I personally think that Ron being Trajan's first pick, he might have a little bit more patience with him in developing. I'd be really surprised if Ron is dealt by the deadline, just because I think they really like his shot long term, and he was starting to hit more 3-pointers towards the end of the season. And I think him not playing in the playoffs, you could tell it kind of bothered him. Like you could just tell, like looking on his face, like he wanted to be out there, he wanted to be competing.
Right.
Lost his rotation spot in the playoffs, but I think the Pistons are still like really invested into Ron Holland long term. To your point, like I don't know if he's going to be a 20-point per game scorer on the Pistons. I'm just not sure. Like it would take like just a crazy amount of development over the next couple of seasons to see that. Stu, I think people kind of get on the injury, and like they have every right to kind of point that out. Like he has just been amazing when he's healthy, but he's had so many injuries. He had the suspension this year, and then he had the calf strain, which it looked good in the Magic series, but that calf series, it didn't seem like he had the same type of lift whatsoever. It seemed like he wasn't as effective as protecting the rim. So I mean, maybe you sell high on him while you can. It really depends what the offer is.
Yeah, and I wish he didn't respond the way he did to that, because a lot of people were asking, dang, why, you come off an 8-block game against the Magic and you take a complete dip. And then when he responded publicly, he said, I'm fine. I'm 100% okay. Like, all right, well, what's the problem then? Because now you just kind of selling yourself out and hanging yourself out there where people get asked questions. So, again, it's an unfortunate situation. I mean, everybody loves Stu. Everybody loves the energy, how he embodies, what Detroit basketball stands for. But the championship window is there. The Pistons extremely exceeded expectations at a high level this year. I don't think this is a failure at all. And people were upset about how Game 7 ended, and I get that. But this was an A+. I won't say A+. This was a successful season for the Detroit Pistons, and you want to grow from that. You don't want to take a step back. And again, in terms of how you capitalize or find a way to move forward, these are the kind of conversations and names that you're going to have to bring up. I agree. I still think Ron and Stu could have value coming off the bench for this team, but I don't think they're not irreplaceable for what you're looking for and for where you're going as well for the Pistons.
Yeah. Plus, I just don't know what their market is. Like, I don't know what it would net you. Like, if you told me you could get a first-round pick for Stu that's, like, not, like, late first round, you would have my interest.
Right.
Like, if you told me, like, a team's going to offer you a top 15, maybe late lottery pick for Stu, like, I would at least listen to it. Like, Ron, I do know a lot of teams around the league still have a lot of interest in Ron Holland. Like a lot of teams really are interested to see like what his trajectory is. So he actually does have a lot of value being a former top 5 pick. It wouldn't surprise me if you start seeing, him in like maybe more of these mock trades this summer when the Pistons, quote unquote, trying to make a big move in these mock trades, but it'll be interesting. I want to ask you one more question and we'll wrap up. Do you have any free agent, just wish list targets for the Pistons this summer?
I do actually, if I'm not mistaken, because hold on. There's one person, I think he's a free agent if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he is. John Collins. That's the one guy I'm really interested in. I like John Collins a lot. I think he would be a big upgrade from, not a big upgrade, but I think he would be a useful upgrade from what Tobias Harris was. Again, I think he fills in a lot of what Tobias did offensively. I think he's a good offensive player in terms of his scoring. I think he's kind of underrated defensively as well. I think his shooting came on pretty strong too as well this year with the Clippers. And I think he would fit perfect for what this team needs. I think he still plays above the rim. I think he is very suitable for that stretch four position. He's, I think, like 28 years old, so he's not very old. He fits the timeline, and he's not a guy that you have to invest, I don't think, a 5-year window with him for either. I think he's a guy that could kind of maybe, you fit around for the next couple years, few years. And then you try to, move from there. But as of right now, that's one guy that I'm pretty interested in. The Pistons should be targeting, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago, so I'll ask you this: if it came down to John Collins or Rui Hachimura, and you had to sign between either one of those two, like, who are you picking?
I would probably pick John Collins.
Okay.
I like Rui. I don't know if his game translates well with the Pistons. I think the Pistons are an athletic team that like to get up and run, and I don't think that's Rui's game at all. I think John Collins is an athletic machine that you can throw it off the window and he's going to boom it on somebody. I think he plays with that, athletic tenacity that JB likes, and I just don't think Rui has that. I do want to see them add more half-court suited guys, which I think is better for Rui's game. But I think John can do both, and I think that's why I would prefer him more.
Yeah, I only mentioned Rui because he had a crazy playoffs. Like, he had Alperen Sengun in a blender, completely exposed the Rockets, and he just could not miss from three. Like, seemed like LeBron was just finding him for a corner three like crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Tobias Harris future holds. I mean, he might be able to get one last bag before he retires. I mean, Chicago's got a shitload of money. Brooklyn's got a shitload of money. The Lakers could generate a whole lot of cap space. Who knows what they do with Austin Reeves? Sounds like he wants to get a max. Like, okay, I'm good. I'm good, dog. Like, go get your money somewhere else. But I mean, I like John Collins. Like, he did shoot 40% from three, but not on a whole lot of attempts.
Right.
I've always liked him from afar, like dating back to like his Atlanta days, like kind of being like a bouncy power forward. I think it would be a good fit next to Jalen Duren in the front court because he has shown the ability to stretch the floor out a little bit. But I don't know if we can get him for a mid-level. We might actually have to give him maybe a 2-year, like $39-40 million contract just to come to Detroit.
I'm not against that at all. Personally, I think that's a pretty good stopgap type of contract that you would want for a guy like him. Especially considering his age. He's not like Tobias is 30, turning 34, 35 this year. 34, yeah. So, with John Collins being only 28, 29, with a lot more lift in his game, he's not going to have to be, a guy that's a hub that's, going to require a lot of, dribbles and whatnot like Tobias did when he was playing the half court set. I think he's a little bit more free flowing in terms of how he plays within the team. Yeah, I think he would be a perfect fit as well. I liked him a lot when he was with Utah. Definitely thought he was really interesting with Atlanta. And I'm surprised he didn't really kind of take off a little bit more with the Clippers. I think they all kind of just had a weird season, even with the most healthy year that they've had with Kawhi, throughout his tenure. They still couldn't really do nothing with it. But, yeah, I don't know. I think John Collins would be the perfect fit to kind of fill in if they don't find something suitable for Tobias, who Trey just said he's interested in bringing back. But, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what his future looks like either.
Man, Clippers were the Youngtion last year. Or this season. Straight up, man. Like, I completely forgot Chris Paul was on that team, and then they just we're done. Left you at the hotel. Like, good luck.
Yep, we're out of here.
Thing, but yeah, I honestly think John Collins would make a whole lot of sense. I know people on Facebook's like, why is John Collins photoshopped in a Pistons jersey? Absolutely not. Like, hell no. I was like, even it's been a lot of that kind of pushback. Like, people act like some of these names are just even I've seen a lot of them from Trey Murphy. Like, who do you guys think Trey Murphy is? Trey Murphy would be a lot better than the Rod Holland that didn't play in the playoffs. Like, it will be a very suitable upgrade for this basketball team. Now, again, I don't think they're a John Collins or a Trey Murphy away from getting to the finals, but would it be a significant help from where they just were?
I would say so, 100%, especially with another year of development under Cade's breath. For Asar as well, for JD, like I think it makes all the sense of the world. So, we'll see. It's gonna be a very interesting offseason for Trajan to put together. But I think that makes the most sense for a guy like John Collins for the Pistons.
I mean, like, listen to the names that are power forwards that'll be free agents. Kristaps Porzingis, I don't know what the hell that guy has. 1 minute he's completely healthy, next minute he's got an oxygen mask on.
Right.
Yeah, he's a free agent. Tobias Harris is a free agent. John Collins is a free agent. Harrison Barnes, who's 34, he's a free agent who was actually almost a Piston at one time.
Yep.
Rui Hachimura is a free agent. Kelly Olynyk, Maxi Kleber. I could see them being cheap and going getting Dean Wade. I could totally see it.
Oh my god. But see, like, that's what I'm saying. Of the names you just mentioned, John Collins was the best name of that group, and I think it's pretty decisive. Like, these guys aren't star level players, but like, I think of all the guys that you just mentioned, from the injury problems of Porzingis, Tobias getting a year older, Harrison Barnes being old, Kelly Olynyk being terrible now at this point, what would the pushback be for somebody like John Collins? Like, that is the best name that you just mentioned out of all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to run it back with Marvin Bagley, he's a free agent. I mean, like, I don't know, man. Free agency is so bad this year. Like, I see people talking about like CJ McCollum. Like, I think Atlanta wants to resign him. Like, he's probably the best shooting guard free agent. Like, out of all the shooting guards, like, you got Anthony Simons, Norman Powell, who's probably going to resign with the Heat. Kevin Huerter is like a top option as a shooting guard, and that's no shot at Kevin Huerter.
Right.
It just tells you how ass free agency is. Free agency is so bad this year. Like,
yes,
the Pistons, if they do participate in free agency, it'll be on the margins and it'll be very small. I think.
Agreed.
Any move they make this offseason, it's going to be on draft night in a trade or in a trade during free agency to fill out the rest of the roster. Like, free agency, you guys can go look at it. It's probably the worst free agency class I've seen in the past 10 years. It's pretty terrible.
Bad. It's pretty bad.
It's terrible. Like, outside of like CJ McCollum, Norm Powell, and John Collins, like, it's like, yeah, Kobe White, which I know.
Yeah, Kobe. Yeah.
Yeah, like Ryan mentioned, Colin Sexton and Kobe White. Like, I really don't know like what they're gonna do with like Kobe White, or I don't know if JB wants a reunion with Colin Sexton when he has Marcus Sasser, who kind of does the same thing.
Right.
Like, it's like I really don't know, man. It's the free agency so bad.
Yeah, I wasn't wooed by a lot of the names there. Like, I 100% agree with you. There's nobody that they're gonna crash for. If there's anybody that's gonna be a big acquisition, it's gonna have to be in the form of a trade, because a lot of these names I saw I was just not blown away by or suppressed by. So, we'll see. This is the biggest. Yeah. This is the biggest offseason for Trajan that he's had, with the Pistons. So he's gonna have a big transfer me. No, it's
I still remember that on draft night, man. Knicks fans didn't know who Kristaps Porzingis was when Phil Jackson was running the operations, and he was like, "Who the hell's Tingus Pingus?"
They was not happy at all. And to see where he is just flooded around, he'll probably put 5 more teams at this point. As long as it's not the Pistons, I'll be fine with it. But he is that is a pipe. The one of the many unicorns that we've seen and heard of from post KD in his draft. He was one of those guys, and as long as them knees don't hold up, it's not worth the discussion at all. No,
I mean, he never hit leg day, man. Like,
no,
he's got the skinniest legs I've ever seen for a basketball player. Like, he's all upper body. He's all upper body, but
100%.
Honestly, man, like I just don't see free agency like actually being like a viable option, because I feel like all the good players in free agency will be re-signed or signed with new teams like day one. Like, 100%. Camel's just a freaking sicko. Looking at the situation we're dealing with, I hate Troy even more. That guy added Joe Harris on a 17-win team.
I remember arguing with fans about that. Oh, but just give him a chance. It's cheap. It makes sense. If he can turn the clock back from 3 years ago, and we never even saw him on the floor. Like, what are we talking about? Joe, oh, God, there was some nasty signings in that period.
Not to mention, we actually gave up like a second-round pick to Brooklyn to get him.
Sure did. He sure did.
It's just like, man, what are we doing, man? Like, Joe Harris was coming off like a serious calf injury. It's just like, I always go back to Stan Van Gundy when he did that interview with Mike Valenti on 97.1. He's like, anyone could build a bad team. He's like, I could build a 10-win team right now if you like give me a roster. I was like, I honestly believe it, man. I believe it. You were really bad at drafting. I know you could. I know you could, dog.
From the Joe Harrises, the Evan Fourniers. Like, Cade has had some nasty names brought in for his assistants, but that needs to change this season right now. I don't want to see no more of these, these cheap stopgap guys that not going to. No more of that. Let's figure something out. Let's put the finals team together as soon as possible.
I did call you a sicko because you brought up the Troy Weaver fever as Mr. Ray. Troy Weaver fever.
Troy Weaver fever is nasty.
You guys are hilarious, man. It's so funny. But I do want to wrap this podcast up. We will be doing more podcasts. I think we're doing 2 next week. But I do want to give you the floor to plug and promote where people can find you. I don't know if you're still doing the live on assist or the live streams. I know you're still writing articles over at ClutchPoints and tapping on in with your YouTube channel. If people aren't subscribed to that, they definitely should be. But tell people where they can find you.
Appreciate you, man. Y'all can follow me on social media at I am Eric Vincent. I'm all over the place on there. You can catch me arguing with Knick fans on Twitter, Drake fans on Twitter. You can tap in with me over there, give you Pistons coverage as well. You can definitely follow my YouTube channel, Top Title Detroit. A lot of my coverage, talking to JV Bickerstaff, talking to players, getting pregame coverage, postgame coverage, all on my YouTube channel, Top Title Detroit. Follow all my beat reporting and my writing on ClutchPoints.com. And I think I'm going to be doing my play-by-play stuff for the Lions on LiveOnAssist.com when the football season starts. So y'all can tap in with me on there, bookmark that site, LiveOnAssist.com. They're also on social media as well. I'm one of the many creators on that site and on that platform, so you guys can lock in with me on there. And I would appreciate that love and support. Appreciate y'all, man. And thank you for having me as well, man. Always a pleasure for sure.
No problem. I haven't caught up with you since like January. I had to look. It was like 5 months. I was like, damn, I have not had Eric on in quite some time. Had to get him back on. But I do have all your social media links down below. I got your YouTube, got your Twitter, where people can find your work over at ClutchPoints. But appreciate you coming on. We will see you guys very soon with the NBA draft. We're going to have some people that do know about the draft more than I do, which is saying a whole lot because I feel like I'm pretty tapped in, but we're gonna have some people that are smarter than me, so I'll actually be taking notes when they talk. But we'll see you guys next week. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, it's Friday, which I thought today was Saturday for whatever reason.
You all zoned out right now.
I'm sober too. I got no excuse. But,
we just getting old out here. That's it.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, like that last birthday hit me, man. I'm an unk status over here, but we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.